Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I want to talk about Alliance War Season 19, the rewards update, new defense and attack tactics, and the solo event. As always, there'll be a timestamp in the description below for those who want to skip the read aloud, jump straight to my thoughts, impressions, and counter ideas. But as always, we'll dive right in. So greetings summoners. Last week we let you know about some of the Grandmaster's plans for the future of Alliance Wars. Take a look at this post for matchmaking, new maps, nodes, and path identities. Today the Grandmaster would like to share with you more information on new defense tactics, attacker tactics, and season war rewards update. New and updated defense tactics. This season the Grandmaster is doing away with the two least used defense tactics, updating one and introducing a couple of his own creation. The Grandmaster has removed dodge and crush from the pool of defense tactics choices. These two defense tactics did not prove very popular among alliances, and the Grandmaster wanted to replace them with some that he hopes will bring more variety to Alliance Wars. Bulwark has been updated. The description now reads, hashtag metal defenders are immune to armor break debuffs. Whenever a metal defender loses more than 3% of their max health from a single strike, they gain an indestructible buff for 6, 8, 10 seconds. This indestructible is removed when the attacker finishes a special attack and goes on cooldown for 10 seconds when indestructible buffs end for any reason. This is a cooldown reduction of 5 seconds. Stubborn is a new defense tactic. Whenever a hashtag defensive defender's attack misses, is evaded, or dodged, they gain 1, 2/3 indestructible passives. One indestructible passive are removed when the attacker blocks a hit or is struck. Protect is the second newly added defense tactic. Whenever the attacker deals more than 300% of their base attack in a single hit to a size large or extra large defender, defender gains a stack of protection, reducing all damage taken by 10, 20, or 30%. Stacks of protection are capped at 4, and the defender loses 2 stacks when they are intercepted. Attacker tactics. To further incentivize more diverse wars and to give summoners and alliances a more interesting experience, the Grandmaster is also introducing attacker tactics. He wants summoners to use them to help address the key threat that is presented by the corresponding defense tactic. Keep in mind, these tactics are determined by the defense tactic that your opponents have selected. Each attack tactic empowers the same category of champions that benefit from the defense tactic and gives them a benefit on every fight during the war, regardless of whether or not the defender benefits from the defense tactic. Protect. If the attacker is size large or extra large, they gain an unstoppable passive for 3 seconds whenever the defender is knocked down. Stubborn. If the attacker is hashtag defensive, their well-timed blocks grant them 15% perfect block chance for 10 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. Bulwark. If the attacker is hashtag metal, the potency of their damage over time effects is increased by 35% for each damage over time effect already on the defender. Flow. If the attacker is hashtag control, the last hit of their heavy attack reduces the potency of the defender's power gain effects by 35% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Siphon. If the attacker is hashtag villain, their special attacks grant them plus 2,500 block proficiency for 15 seconds. Rewards update, I'll talk about that in the end. New titles and badges. The Grandmaster is also updating the way in which titles are awarded for the highest ranks in Alliance War seasons. Now these new titles will be permanent and will evolve like the Arena Champion titles. As players earn these titles multiple times, they will be granted the next tier in that title. Earning the War Champion title 5 times grants Defending War Champion, and winning it 10 times grants Undisputed War Champion. Earning the Master title 5 times grants Masterful, 10 times grants Master Class. Season 19 also revamps all of the Alliance War season badges. Here they are. Hidden nodes. After hearing our summoners' feedback and concerns about the way that hidden nodes are being utilized on the new map, we are going to be removing hidden nodes from the map while we work on improving their implementation. Hidden nodes will return to Alliance Wars in the future. In the meantime, we will work towards a solution we're happy with. Timer changes. The fight timer for encounters on the Challenger and Expert maps will be raised to 5 minutes per fight. A new solo event. To encourage summoners to take part in Alliance Wars, the Grandmaster is introducing a new 28-day solo event that coincides with the Alliance Wars season. This event is geared mostly towards newer summoners and will give points for participating and making actions in Alliance Wars, like placing defenders or winning fights, and awards items like small amounts of crystal shards, gold, and loyalty. The event will run the length of the season and will not run during the off-season. A new era is upon us. The reign of the Grandmaster is about to begin. Alliance War will start. Season 19 starts on July 8th. The new defense tactics will be available to try on July 1st. So that said, I'll stick a timestamp here for those of you who are interested in my thoughts. I'm going to touch about everything except for the tactics, and then I'll go over those at the end so I can kind of throw out some, like, I don't know, first impression counter ideas I have, you know, kind of like ways to work around them, because, you know, eventually we're gonna have to do that anyway, so whether or not I like them, recognizing that we have to come up with solutions is definitely part of the game. So first off, like just like right off the bat, this season the Grandmaster is doing away with 2 of the least used, updating one and introducing a couple of his own creation. I think this is like the completely wrong way to address this situation. So yes, there are tactics that essentially just don't get used. Like, you don't ever really see them, or at least I haven't really seen them and never see them in like higher tier wars, because essentially there's like a meta that evolves from these tactics. There's almost always like, this is the best tactics to run, and then everybody runs that tactic. And I don't think the logic of, oh, these tactics aren't getting used, let's introduce new ones or update other ones to, you know, make them good enough to match with the other tactics. I think that's the wrong way to approach it. I think the methodology should instead be, why is flow the only tactic getting used? Is it perhaps because flow is a little too strong or overtuned or difficult to go up against in war? Let's tune that down, and then that will inevitably push all the other tactics into play. Going about it this other way is just counterintuitive, in my opinion, to the value of tactics. It makes war more frustrating instead of more variable and diverse and interesting. Having tactics that add so much frustration that people want to quit war is not a good place to be. You want them to add flavor, not spice. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, not a fan. My gut instinct is to say that's the wrong way to do it, but hey, that's what they've opted to do, so we'll talk about the improvements. I think this bulwark change isn't that bad. Essentially, they've made it happen more frequently, but I still don't foresee bulwark suddenly becoming good. One, they need to change indestructible buffs to indestructible passive so that it has less workarounds, and 2, it's just not bad. Like out of all of the ones, this is the one that I feel like makes the fights last longer, but it's the easiest one to work around. You can get your damage elsewhere, and it's just not a big deal to begin with. So I don't foresee bulwark suddenly becoming the most common one, especially considering the list of options for #metal is not as large as some of the other categories. Stubborn is the new one, and when I talk about stubborn, I do want to talk about the attack tactic as well, which is going to give you well-timed blocks, grant them 15% perfect block for 10 seconds, stacking up to twice. This one sucks. Like, they very clearly were like, what's the hardest parts of war? Well, you're evading a lot of specials, right? Because you can't even afford to really take block damage. You use a lot of Ghost, and you use a lot of Quake. Let's create a tactic that counters all 3 of those. Brilliant, man. Brilliant. And to an extent, I don't mind that. I don't mind punishing players for using Ghost or Quake or dexing specials. I don't like the way it's being implemented. Having indestructible passives, meaning that you can't even, you know, nullify them the same way you could with Bulwark. And like, first off, like this isn't add any extra flavor, because like you've got indestructible in here twice. So this isn't even like a degree of variation. You've put the same mechanic in twice and then had a different mechanic for removing the indestructible buffs. Not a fan. But yeah, elsewise, I actually don't think Stubborn is going to be as bad as it sounds. My gut instinct off of that is because of the large list of options you have. And like looking at this, it's very easy to see like there are going to be a lot of serious pain point defenders. Dr. Doom. I don't think Ebony Maw is going to be too bad, but Dr. Doom, we got Nick Fury down here is going to be a pain, Void, like there's a lot of defenders here that are going to be very, very high pain point, but just kind of things that come to mind, like if Doom becomes the Doom boss, either people will try to blast him down with Human Torch, which is a really, really good option, and then you pop like an invulnerability boost, right, and then you just tank the special one. Rather than trying to dex it, you literally just parry up on Doom, you build up your smolder charges that way. Maybe because you have 5 minutes, you can honestly just, you know, parry a whole bunch of times even. I don't know how many times you can do that because you are going to be taking a lot of block damage, but you can parry or dodge the initial part of the special one without using dexterity, and then you literally just take the second pit of the special one using your indestructibility charges. You're going to be able to do that 3 times before you get completely wrecked. Try to blast them down with Torch. I think using Captain America Infinity War with a tech champion is a really good option here as well, because if you petrify Doom, then you don't have to worry about unblockable specials. So then you could just parry both of the special attacks. I think that's an option. Not the world's like greatest list of options here, but you know, just some of them. All of the bosses with all of the tactics have always had a fairly niche, limited amount of options. So I do think that those are still present. But yeah, I think what makes Stubborn so frustrating is the large list of champions, which makes it really, really easy for all types of alliances at all different levels to place like really frustrating defenses. So yeah, I'm interested. I do think there are still a lot of counters, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. I'm not like the world's greatest war guide. I think this is going to be the meta for sure. Stubborn definitely looks like the most frustration, especially considering they put dodged in here as well, which means that I'm sure a lot of people will just flat out be turning dexterity mastery off, because rather than risk it, you know, you still want to be able to physically evade physical based specials, but you don't want to accidentally trigger dexterity and just completely botch the fight as a result. I think 3 indestructible passives at the higher tiers is way too much of a punishment for dexing. Yeah, so all kinds of crazy shit here. Not a huge fan, but I do think there are ways to play around it. I think that Captain America Infinity War is probably going to be one of the best attackers this war. I think Thing is going to make a run here for one of the best attackers. Yeah, I think there are other ones here like Colossus, maybe Nick Fury and Blade showing up. Hyperion might be really good, but we'll have to see overall. And then next up is Protect. This one, you know, it's neat, but this looks like Bulwark to me as far as relevancy. Like, I think Bulwark and Protect will like never be used. If anything, I'm expecting Stubborn and Flow to be the 2 main tactics we see this war. Like, if anything is going to be seen instead of Stubborn, it's going to be Flow. At least that's my opinion. So as far as tactics, I like the effects we're getting. So the effects we're getting, I think, are pretty reasonable. It's the way we're getting or how effective those effects are that I'm not a huge fan of, right? So like if you look at Protect as a defense tactic, you have like reduced damage, right? So every time you deal too much damage, it reduces your damage overall. But going unstoppable is going to allow you to like reliably intercept in that 3-second period, allowing you to kind of like reduce those protection stacks. So I do like that. This is the only one I think that's like done really, really well, but it doesn't matter because I really doubt you'll ever see this as a tactic. Stubborn, I don't mind that they're giving us well-timed blocks, additions, and perfect block chance. I think that's really awesome. I just personally think they should have given this to us like automatically. Like if you literally just say, if the attacker is hashtag defensive, their well-timed blocks have 30% additional perfect block. Period. Like that's it. Like I don't think they needed it to stack. I don't think they needed to put a 10-second timer on it. 10 seconds is not very long, especially considering in war, like you're gonna be taking a lot of block damage inevitably. And honestly, in the scenarios where these fights are gonna be the most frustrating, the additional block damage isn't what's gonna be wrecking you. It's gonna be not being able to properly dex, or if you dex, then you're gonna be incredibly punished for it. And then timeout's gonna be a problem. Even with an additional 2 minutes, I do still see timeouts being a problem with Stubborn. Not to mention like having like probably 2 of the best war attackers being off of your list because you can't bring them because they will literally just get completely wrecked by the node. So yeah, definitely would have liked to see something better here. I would like to see like maybe if the attacker is hashtag defensive, their well-timed blocks remove an additional destructive charge, right? Make it so it responds directly to the indestructibility rather than reducing the block damage. I don't think block damage is the concern here. Bulwark I don't care about because I don't think that tactic is going to be present. And then flow, I love that they're reducing the power gain. I don't like that it's off of heavy. Most of the fights where you have a problem with flow are like stun immunes. So you're not getting a ton of heavies. And if you want to get a heavy on a stun immune, you have to like, some of them you have to back yourself up into the corner and then throw your heavies. Yeah, that's not good. That's really, really not ideal. And even if you're doing that, like, it's only 15 seconds, and actually 15 seconds is like a pretty reasonable amount of time. But if you happen to stack this 3 times, or you happen to crit while you're heavying, like they're gaining power, then you're dexing specials, it's really just not an ideal way to be playing a fight. This is one I'd like to see maybe stick it, like, again, direct counter. Like, if the attacker is #control, every time they crit, reduce the potency of a defender's power gain effects by 35% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. That way, this directly counters the mechanic of every time you crit, they gain a power gain. So essentially, if you crit 3 times in a row, say you're using Corvus Glaive or something, although I don't think he's control, it's just an example. You're using Ghost here. You do 3 crits with Ghost, then you don't have to worry about the power control anymore. You still are going to have an initial burst of power control, but all of a sudden you can reliably use Ghost as an option. So I think that would be cool instead, and I think that's how, that kind of a mechanic is how they should take defender tactics, attack tactics as well. But you know, we'll see how it goes. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you think Stubborn is going to be the new meta. Maybe you think Flow is going to stay, or you don't know where Siphon's going to land in all this. But I'm pretty confident Stubborn's going to take over. As far as rewards, they did the same thing they always do. And normally I do a chart here, but I just don't need to at this point. They upped the rewards at the higher end significantly more than they did at the lower end. Essentially, it's relatively like a raw increase across the board, but like percentage wise or multiplier wise, it's relatively similar, right, in shards. But because the lower ranks have less shards at base, the discrepancy grows even bigger. And so rather than doing a raw addition across the board, elevating everybody, the top tiers feel great, and the lower tiers feel worse, kind of getting worse the farther you go down. Now, this is only for shards. Personally, I don't think War is like a shards-based reward system. Like, yes, you get a good amount at these higher ranks, but in my opinion, like, the best value in War really comes at the tier 5 class catalysts, and then after that it's the tier 5 basic and the tier 2 alpha, or the resource rank up resources. I'd really like to see War be centralized on this kind of like accessibility to high-end resources, and they're not doing a very good job there either. Again, tier 5 class catalysts still being, you know, incredibly scarce as they've always been. So I'm not going to do a spreadsheet because it's just disappointing. That's the summary. I can tell you wherever you're at, it's disappointing, and we can call it a day there. Titles and badges, cool, that's fancy. I don't think this is like, I don't want this to have been emphasized at all. This is a complete waste of time. Titles and badges are cool, and there's something that maybe if this was season 2 or season 3 or even like season 4, like, this would be cool and definitely worth your time, because then you'd be setting yourself up way up for the future. But at season 19, when your war absolutely sucks, now is not the time to be worrying about flashy aesthetics. It's just, you know, it's just not the time to be doing it. Spend those resources elsewhere. I love that they're taking hidden nodes. That does show they listened about that. I don't like hearing they'll come back, but at least they removed them for now, so that's a huge positive. The timer change is awesome. I don't think it needed to be dropped down below expert. It really is only the higher tier wars that really have timeout issues. I think we may or may not have had this issue like down like on very specific fights at Plat 4, but for the most part this is really only an issue when you're hitting these higher tier maps anyways, so that's fine. I just think it would have been nice if they stretched it across the board, since most people aren't timing out at lower tiers anyways, so why not just make it consistently 5 minutes for everybody? I don't know. I just think that makes more sense. The solo event had so much potential, and then they made it like super depressing. So like, let's just pretend Uncollected and Cavalier only. Like, Sorry, but you're getting 1,000 5-star shards after a whole month. An additional 1,000 5-star shards. Wow, so generous. This should say 1,000 6-star shards. It should be 1,000 6-star shards, 1 5-star. Like literally just upgrade all of these tiers up 1. If this was 1 5-star hero crystal, 1,000 6-star shards, and if this was like 100,000 loyalty, because heaven forbid 10,000 loyalty is garbage, like this would actually be really, really, really good. But because it's not, because it's like literally completely negligible, like this is all stuff I'll completely ignore. And honestly, even if I was uncollected, none of this is exciting. If this was a war by war basis, a solo event every war, and you could get an additional 1,000 5-star shards every war, this would be amazing. This would be absolutely wonderful. But because it's over the whole season, it just feels like a really big flop. And honestly, in a solo event for war, I don't want to see shards here. I want to see revives. I want to see revives. I want to see boosts. I want to see loyalty. And if you put shards in there, cool, but make it relevant. Otherwise, you know, people are just going to meme you and make fun of you for, I don't know, maybe being out of touch. So that said, those are my thoughts on A War. I don't think it's as bad as it looks, but if you were hoping for some kind of excitement, if you were hoping for something to make it spicy and worth doing, that doesn't change. But if you're like me and you like war, you think war is fun because maybe you're masochistic, or maybe you're sadistic and you like watching defender kills, or maybe your alliance just is chill and pushes hard but doesn't take it too seriously, you know, there's still, you know, relative improvements here. We are getting, you know, acknowledgement from Kabam that tactics needs to be adjusted to be fair. Rewards are slightly better across the board, so, you know, hey, a little bit more time bang for your buck if you were already putting that time in. Yeah, like those are the positive spin-offs. I want to end it on that because in my opinion, if you're doing war, you're already familiar with all of the problems. So I'd rather highlight, you know, the gains here since the problems were kind of already there. So that said, that is the Alliance War update. Let me know what you think. As always, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.